are the PMK podcast. Catherine Ellis is here.
Hi, I'm the KE of the PMK.
You are. And Emmy is at home doing the
Emmy.
housework or something.
Not
Max.
me.
No.
Max Ellis.
How's the stain?
What, you mean where I spilt coffee on your pristine upholstery?
It was something like this, wasn't it? It was like, woo!
No, it was more that you passed it to me and I was at a strange angle where I had to kind of go backwards to access this coffee table. Actually, Phil rushed out with his Vanish spray and the stain was gone. Vanish, vanish, one squirt, a little rub and the stain is gone. It needs a bit of work.
Yeah, what can you rhyme with vanish?
Spanish. Banish. Could banish the
You're a
stain.
songwriter. Anyway, something else I was going to mention.
Yes.
Because today is January the 29th.
The 29th of January.
And we've still remained in these clothes.
I just love this jumper.
But on this day, back in 1996,
Yes.
George Michael,
Oh, yes.
who we lost last year, Christmas Day, he was number one, Jesus to a Child. One of his better ballads, I think. His ballads were brilliant, weren't they? He was just an all-rounder, I think, George Michael, with Wham and everything else.
Great songwriter.
Sad news, Christmas Day,
I know, it was a shocker, wasn't it?
because we were all celebrating, and then we heard the news in the evening.
Well, and then we had, was it Christmas Eve, or the day before, Carrie Fisher had a heart attack, and then Rick Parfitt died the day before that, and then George Michael, and then she actually died the next day, and then Debbie Reynolds died.
Yeah.
Any death is a shock and a great sadness, but I think when someone is so young, it's just so
young.
unexpected.
And what a talent as well. I mean, he was such a nice guy, because I was lucky enough to meet him.
Yes.
When I worked at Gaydar, because you came in around that time. You used to come in quite a lot and do interviews to Gaydar Radio.
Because you were very upset. I think he meant an awful lot to you, didn't he?
He did, because we spent a lot of time before and after the interview we did, which was back in 2012, chatting on text and Twitter, because he used to send a lot of direct tweets. And he was really supportive, not just of me, but of the radio station too, because he was going to come back with that big dance album, White Light. He did the single, and then the Symphonica tour, obviously, just before that. But he was really lovely. He was such a sweet guy, and you can always tell, can't you, when you meet somebody. And although I'd only seen him the once, we kept in touch by Twitter and
But
text,
also he was someone who'd made an impression on you when you were a kid, wasn't he? Because you saw him in concert when you were, I don't know, had you come out by that
15.
time?
No, I didn't come out until I was late 20s,
so that must have
way
meant,
before.
so that's obviously also why he meant so much of you, to you. Would you say he was a bit of a role model for you?
Oh God, he was for so many people. For me, yeah, especially because that was when I came out, when he was outed. So I'm guessing somewhere there must have been a link there, which made it okay for me to do it and made it more acceptable.
So when you saw that concert as a secret gay teen, and obviously he hadn't come out, but he was being quite overt, wasn't he, with tennis balls or something?
It was badminton rackets. Him and Andrew Ridgely came on with badminton rackets, and they had shuttlecocks which they put down their shorts.
So it was a bit...
And then whacked them into the crowd.
So it was a bit suggestive,
It was really suggestive, but their fan base was predominantly female. I just saw him as this big kind of pop star that all the girls were screaming over, that was really powerful and made brilliant pop music. Because Wham were brilliant, weren't they? They were so feel good. But they also took the mickey out themselves, which I loved, because it wasn't, they knew that they were great, but they also had fun with it.
But how amazing that, they went from, Wake Me Up Before You Go, Club Tropicana, but then around the same time you had Careless Whisper.
Yeah, just after,
And that just incredible ballad.
That just shows how brilliant he was, doesn't it? How diverse he was with his songwriting. How clever. Because people dismiss pop, don't they, as being rubbish sometimes. I mean, there's good and bad music regardless of genre.
He did have a beautiful voice. And it was a very easy voice to listen to. In a way, it because it's so kind of smooth, you sometimes don't think of him as good as he was. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
but when you actually listen to his voice and his technique and his range, and you start to think about what he could actually do, he was really quite incredible.
Were you a fan back in the days when he was in Wham, or were you a fan just from his
I think
solo
I was
stuff?
a little bit old to be a Wham fan.
That's interesting though, because I never really saw them as a band that had fans of a certain age. I mean, the whole place was full of young girls, screaming girls. But then you could say the same, I guess, for Duran Duran and some of the other big bands.
See, you
around
say
at
you were
that time.
15. See, when I was 14, 15, when I was at that age where you do have a lot of bands that you love and you're very innocent and open about it, the bands that I loved at that time were The Police, The Jam, Bob Marley, Blondie,
Yeah,
the
so
Boomtown Rats. And I think by the time Wham came out, I was kind of doing other things, really.
So what would you say is your favourite George Michael moment? It doesn't have to be a single or album, it could be anything. Whether it's the revolving urinals in the outside video or him being outed in the way he dealt with the intrusion and the arrest.
I don't know if it's, I mean, there's so many to choose from, but I did think that when he went on the Catherine Tate show, that was just hilarious.
That was brilliant. The Christmas
I think his
episode.
ability to laugh at himself. He was the first carpool karaoke, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
He was all, and as you were saying before, the fact that he sort of almost beat everyone to it with the toilet incident by doing a video in a toilet.
Oh my God, and it was so soon after too.
He was able to just sort of
instant.
not take himself too seriously. And as you say, when you met him, that's how he came across. He was just a very nice guy.
And the fact that he was trying to be private with his sexuality because of his mum, because he was protecting her.
Do you have a favourite song?
Oh, the Wham stuff, without a doubt, is probably what I remember the most growing up, because I loved Wham. There's such brilliant pop songs and so different for what was happening then. The whole Wham
But
rap
their videos were so colourful. That's
Yeah.
why colourful and vibrant, weren't they?
Yeah, the older album as well, his solo album, class. The production, the songwriting, because obviously he was a producer too, which people forget about. They don't, remember him as producing. They just remember him as singing. And the arrest, which is a shame, because I just wish that he'd be remembered for things other than what happened in his private life.
Oh, I think he is.
I'd like to think so.
I think he is.